Bonjour et bienvenue à ce concert-conférence numéro 9. Hello, welcome to this concert conference number 9. Hola todo el mundo, bienvenido a este concierto número 9. I was thinking about questions people ask, and the one question that comes up a lot of times is, when did you start piano? And that's a very difficult question for me to answer because it's hard to tell exactly when something starts because there are so many steps to it. And for me, music was pretty much the same thing. It was a hobby that my mom, having a friend that was a pianist, I started with that friend. I started piano lessons with Nina Alonso. After having Nina as a first piano teacher, then I had Julie, I think it was her name. So Julie was my second piano teacher in Laval. And I remember doing more theory with her, so I learned a lot of how to write and what it's supposed to be, the actual reading of notes, more than the listening of it. So with Nina was a lot of listening and rhythm that I remember learning, and with Julie it was the theory and understanding, like real comprehension of music. But then we moved from Laval to Sorel. So there I had my third teacher, Lynn. Lynn was a teacher I had from 3rd grade up to 6th grade, so to finish off my elementary school. And with her, again, I learned a lot because it was the first time with her that I learned how to play piano four hands. And it was totally different because not only did I have to listen to what I was doing and know where I was going, but I had to listen to my partner. And it just felt like a really nice challenge to be able to play piano four hands. And she also prepared me for a few regional competitions in Sorel. And I'm proud to say that I did win twice the second prize, and the prize was to go to Le Camp Lanaudière. So for those who know where Le Camp Lanaudière du Père Lindsay is, it's an incredible place for kids from, I think, 7 years old until 16 or 18 years old. So I went there, I think, 3 times in my life. And first time was kind of hard because I was used to being at home with my mom and my sister. But the second and third time I really did enjoy it and learn a lot through those 2 weeks of intense musical piano lessons, choir lessons, understanding opera, how it works and the different characters and all that. It was really, really a good musical camp, and I think it still is working right now, and it's been there for decades, a lot of time. So Lynn was my third teacher. Then for high school, we stayed in Sorel, but I went to a school in Nicolet, so another hour away from Sorel. It's about maybe an hour and a half or 45 minutes from Montreal. So I was in boarding school, and there was my first nun teacher. She was very strict, Aline. She was very strict. That was my fourth teacher. But I learned so much from her again. But this time I learned how to do music. So I didn't only read music, listen to music, and combine with another pianist, trying to understand how to listen to more than just myself. With Aline in Sorel, and I'm getting all confused, with Aline in Nicolet, the nun, Sœur Aline, I really learned what it is to do interpretation. And that was for me mind-blowing because I could feel I was doing music. I wasn't just playing piano. So I studied with her 3 years, from secondary 1, 2, and 3. And yes, she made me cry a lot, but now, older, I see that she saw potential and she just really wanted to get the best out of me and make me learn as much as I could in that moment. And so that was Saraline for 3 years. And with her, I didn't do any competitions, but I did do a lot of concerts at the school. So I was known as the pianist of the school because a lot of people were playing, but not many were practicing 6 hours a day. So when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, that was my regular day. I would be practicing between each little break, between eating meals, between having to go to class or deciding to go play outside, I would definitely go practice. So I would do 6 hours a day when I was 15, and I was the happiest during those years. It was the happiest time of my life to discover something so beautiful as piano. But then we moved again. So from Sorel we came to Montreal, and having to move to Montreal, I had to finish secondary 4 and 5 at another school here in Montreal. And that was pretty hard because, well, I was up to my 5th teacher, another nun, Sœur Hélène, and with her she was really, really sweet. She was very demanding, but she worked my technique. So again, totally another point of view of how to learn music, because maybe she saw that I understood already what it was to interpret music and I felt it, but there were some things physically, technically that I wasn't still in control of. So she really worked technique with me. And so I did secondary 4 and 5 with Sœur Hélène, and when I had to decide what to do for college, for Cégep, here in Quebec we have Cégep before going to university. So to decide there, I knew I wanted to do music. I knew I wanted to play piano. What I didn't know was what kind of future is that? What kind of career is that? What kind of schedule in a normal life is it to be a pianist? Because in my family, friends, pretty much anyone we knew, nobody was doing music, so, or living by it. So it was hard for me and for my mom to understand what a future music meant. So I did go into music for Cégep, but I did a double deck. So my mom told me, why not study social sciences, and then within the 2-3 years of those studies, you can choose or know more what it is to go to university in music or in social sciences. So I would have 2 choices when entering university. However, the first session of social sciences, I really did try my best, but it was the worst year, the worst marks I ever had at school. So for me, it was just obvious, like I was meant for music. So I left the double deck, the double college degree, and I just focused on music. So I did 2 complete years of Cégep in music with Sœur Hélène, because she was the same teacher for high school and Cégep. And I finished with the best mark, like total mark of all 2 years of Cégep, and they gave me a bursary to continue to university in music. So for me, ending my Cégep was an obvious way of getting to university in music, in interpretation. That's what I wanted, but I had to pass auditions like everyone else. So I passed auditions for University of Montreal and McGill. And McGill said, you're not up to our standards. So that was a shock, because I just had the bursary, like a scholarship from Cégep. So for me, I was on a high horse thinking that I was the best. And the University of Montreal, they were having auditions too. But we were 21 pianists wanting to get into the interpretation program. And I think in that year we were only 4 to be able to get into interpretation. The rest had to go into different other programs. So I passed auditions for University of Montreal. I did not get into interpretation, but I did get into a Bachelor General program of music. And I had the possibility of doing another audition after the first session. So I went, being very sad and very disappointed on myself, thinking, well, maybe this isn't what I should do, because if universities are not taking me in directly in the program that I want, I must not be good enough. But what else was I gonna do? I wanted to do music, so I did go into general music, and that was my 6th teacher, Claude. And Claude, was the first time I had a man as a teacher. So that again, totally different from 5 women teachers. 2 of them were nuns, and then changing to 1 man. who had a totally different view of music, living music, feeling music, understanding music, and he taught me how to feel my body, not my mind, not my technique, but my body, how to use my back, my shoulder, my physical, natural weight to not play loud, but play round loud. And it was such a revealing moment to understand that there was, again, another step of learning new things. And so I did my bachelor's. Well, I passed the second audition and got into interpretation program. So I was really happy about that. And so I continued with Claude to my bachelor's degree, but he died. I think I said this in another concert conference earlier. So that was Claude, who died at the middle of my bachelor's degree. So we had to change to another teacher. And that's when I got my seventh teacher, Dan Dyson. So Son was, is a Vietnamese who studied in Moscow, and he was starting his teaching years in University of Montreal. And for me, again, first time after 7 teachers, that was the 7th teacher, it was the first time that I had a foreign teacher. So again, new vision of life, new vision of music, new vision of how to combine his experience and how it sounds when you put your personal touch. So with Sean, that was what I learned. And I don't think I got to learn as much with him because he was so up there in interpretation in another level that I felt I could understand, but then I couldn't grasp to the whole information, but I did feel enough to understand, and then later on in life to go back to that memory of him telling me and playing and hearing the sound that he wanted me to get out of the piano. I understood it a couple of years later, but he was the person who showed me that playing music is not just reading notes, it's not just understanding it, it's not just feeling it, it's not just physical, it's not just experience, it's everything. It's your personality that has to come out in each note. And what I say in conferences when I go to the different schools in Montreal is that with him, it was so intense because I remember one of the lessons, I don't know how long it lasted, but for me it seemed like an hour maybe. But we were working on just one note and making one note sound happy, sad, nostalgic, nervous, all kinds of different feelings. But he would do one note and you would right away understand what that feeling was. I would do one note and 20 notes and it would always sound the same. So that was the amazing thing of my 7th teacher, who showed me that you have to know yourself, your personality, embrace it and share it. Because of course we can't please everyone, not everyone likes one person, but if you show who you are musically, then people are actually able to know if they're gonna like you, the music, or not. And it's not something superficial, it really is you exposing your true self to a public. So that's what I learned with Sean. And after Sean, still, that was my master's degree, and I still felt I needed to learn, to have a teacher, to have someone to guide me and to show me more things, because it's infinite, it's so many things. So I studied with his assistant, Patrice Larry, and with Patrice, he was the person who told me, well, if you really want to keep learning, why don't you go totally drastic, leave Canada, go to Russia, because Sean and Patrice had studied in Russia, and that's where they met. And Patrice took me during a year, 3 times a week. He didn't even look at the time passing, because sometimes it was 1 hour lesson that finished being 3 hours or 5 hours of lessons and learning what he and his wife had lived in Moscow, how the culture works, food, art, everything. They would tell me so many stories of when they were students in the Moscow Conservatory that for me, I made myself a whole bunch of images and impressions and ideas, and I really, really wanted to go. So he prepared me 3 times a week, at least 3 hours every time during a whole year. Those were our lessons. And I passed auditions in Moscow and got in. And that's where I got my 9th teacher. I think I'm up to 9. Yeah, 9th teacher, who was Yuri Slisarev. And Yuri was Patrice's teacher when he was studying in Moscow. And so in Moscow, I had a piano teacher and a Russian teacher and a company teacher. So we learned to play on our own, piano teacher, and to play with other instruments. Especially, I had more singers and violinists with who I worked with. So I had Yuri as a piano teacher, and I had Tatiana Afanasievskaya, who was my accompanist teacher. And she was adorable. She was really, really nice with me. And she taught me a lot too, how to listen, and how to understand the singer, how to be able to balance out the sound and all of that. So I guess it's 10 teachers. So when you say, when did you start? I say maybe around 5 or 6 years old. The first time I actually played with a teacher telling me how it worked. Then the next step, I would say, in Nicolet, when I was doing 6 hours a day, that's when I actually feel like I started doing music, actual music interpretation. And throughout the different steps, I'd say with Patrice, I learned so much to just be able to do 1 year in Russia and maintain myself at that level. So it's hard to say when I started doing music, but it's a lifetime of learning, of different steps. And now I'm on my own and I learn things on my own, but everything my teachers have told me since I'm 6 years old, it's still ringing in my ears. And sometimes I play something and it pops in that, oh, I'm not doing this and this and that the way I should, the way a teacher would be telling me to correct things. So thank you to all my 10 teachers. And and next week I will continue talking about the Russian experience with Russian pieces. So that's it for now. That was an intro of concert conference number 9. So now I leave you with the actual music. Thank you. again to this new concert conference, number 9 this time. Next week I will be playing excerpts of pictures of an exhibition of Mussorgsky, and I will be talking a bit more about the Russian experience because it was only 1 year, but it felt like 5 with so many things I learned and so many things I saw and so many people I met. So that's for next week. And the following week, I think I will be doing the concert trivia on Zoom. So if you feel like participating, you can let me know, just so that I'm sure you're going to receive the Zoom invitation, because that's through email. And there will be prizes to win. I have a couple of scores. I have music books. I have scores for kids, and my CDs. So there will be a lot of prize that you can win for that concert. It's going to be the concert number 10, so a concert trivia on Zoom. And so that's just going to be a few excerpts of music from TV shows, movies. You can participate in any language. I'll do it in all 3 languages because the titles might not be the same in French, English, or Spanish. So whatever language you speak, you can participate, because you'll just need to type in your answer and I'll be playing. So I wish you all a very happy week. Be safe, be healthy, be happy. Thank you very much.